Welcome back, everyone. We're taking a look at life in the Middle Ages again, chapter 14, lesson 3. And just to take a look here today, you will also, again, have the opportunity to either use the slides or the document. The slides and the document both have the same information. It's your choice here what you want to use. I will be presenting using the slides today. And we're moving on to chapter 14, notebook lesson 3. Scrolling on down here. Life in the Middle Ages. The main idea. The church. Feudalism. And manor life. Formed the foundation. The church, feudalism, and manor life formed the foundation of European medieval life. Okay, the church, feudalism, and manor life formed the foundation of European medieval life. And like most societies, they were also looking for a way to have fun occasionally, to get away from the drudgery of work, and they played a game called Mill, also known as Nine Men's Morris. And this game was played on a board with concentric squares. This game was played on a board with concentric squares, and there we have a photo of a very old mill board that was found, and here we have a more modern looking one with marbles on it. Concentric means one within the other. Oftentimes you hear it with circles, like a target, one circle around the other. In this case with mill, it was squares that were concentric. And moving on, in order to have a little bit more fun, they had festivals. One of those festivals was Michaelmas. And this feast of St. Michael and all angels included a meal of goose, sports, games, and horse racing. Of course, that main mode of transportation and battle also. This feast of St. Michael and all angels included a meal of goose, sports, games, and horse racing. Mass, the meaning of Mass, if you're ever wondering or were wondering what that means in Michaelmas, just like Christmas, it is a Mass or communion service held in memory of a saint. So it's a Mass or communion service held in memory of a saint. And a communion service, of course, is where they serve the bread and the wine. And next we have Kristin de Pisa, 1364 to circa 1430, pronounced Pisa. And during the reign, just putting that word in there, that's the time that a king is in power, during the reign of King Charles VI of France. She was a poet and author for the court. During the reign of King Charles VI of France, she was a poet and author for the court. She protested. What did she protest? She protested the treatment of women in her writing. She was using the power of the pen to try to change what she felt was unfair. Wow, and we're still talking about that nowadays. She protested the treatment of women in her writing. And we have another slide here on Kristen de Pisa. Her father, who died of the plague. So we're getting to that time here where we're going to be taking a look at the plague. Her father had served as an astrologer. Her father had served as an astrologer for Charles V. Her father, who died of the plague, had served as an astrologer for Charles V. And I think my picture went down a little bit too far here. I just have to back it up a little bit. There it is, back up on the slide where it belongs. If you're having any trouble with the slides, you can always change the size in between just to make sure things fit the way they're supposed to. And I'm thinking that is a painting of her and some others. Next, we have Rome. This city was considered the holy center of Christendom. The holy center of Christendom. I have to make sure I spelled that right. It was considered the holy center of Christendom, the main place. And the Pope, this Christian leader, was as powerful as a king. This Christian leader was as powerful as a king. Under him are the following. Okay, so just take a look again. Rome, this city was considered the holy center of Christendom. And the Pope, this Christian leader, was as powerful as a king. Under him are the following. Number 1, cardinals. These are the Pope's right-hand men. In other words, his main assistants. These are the Pope's right-hand men serving duties similar to how our cabinet members help our president. Serving duties similar to how our cabinet members help serve our president. These are the Pope's right-hand men. They also elect a new Pope when a Pope dies or abdicates. So they elect a new Pope when a Pope dies or abdicates. And abdicates means that a Pope might leave office early or for whatever reason it might be before the time is up. So it looks like it's a lifetime position. similar to our Supreme Court justices. Next, we have bishops. They usually have a doctorate and are in charge of a larger area of churches. They usually have a doctorate and are in charge of a larger area of churches. And bishops serve in cathedrals. Bishops serve in cathedrals. There we have a couple pictures of or paintings of past bishops. And you might ask, what are cathedrals? And these are larger churches, most often found in cities. These are larger churches, most often found in cities. So cathedrals, where the bishops served, these are larger cathedrals. These are larger churches, most often found in cities. And then after the bishops, we have the priests. And the priests serve the churches of an area. They serve the churches of an area and answer to the bishops. Everyone has a boss. These men serve the churches of an area and answer to the bishops. So what are churches? Churches are sites of worship or sites of worship Churches or sites of worship are found anywhere in a region. Churches or sites of worship are found anywhere in a region. And then we have monks. In the Christian church, monks are single men who serve the church members and how do they serve them? By studying and providing education praying farming and helping the poor. Okay, in the Christian church, monks are single men who serve the church members by studying and providing education, praying, farming, and helping the poor. And what I would like you to do right now is go back and copy this, because for nuns, we're going to need the exact same thing. So let's scroll down here. Almost the exact same thing. In the Christian church, nuns are single women who serve. I guess I copied a little bit too much. Control V. Nuns are single women who serve. I have to get rid of the extra words here. In the Christian church, nuns are single women who serve the church members by studying and providing education, praying, farming, and helping the poor. And we have an extra period there to get rid of. And everything fit on the slide there. So again, in the Christian church, nuns are single women who serve the church members by studying and providing education, praying, farming, and helping the poor. And now we have a monastery. And this is a community where monks live. A monastery is a community where monks live. And if there's a community for monks, there must be one for nuns. So we have the convent. And this is a community where nuns live. The convent. Fancy architecture there with the arches and everything. Then we have a missionary. A missionary is someone who teaches a religion to people with different beliefs. So a missionary is someone who teaches a religion to people with different beliefs. And next we move on to feudalism. Feudalism. This was the system that provided protection and justice for the people during the Middle Ages. This was the system that provided protection and justice for the people during the Middle Ages. And its hierarchy follows. What is the order of power? Who is where? And we will start at the top with the monarch. This word is derived from two parts. The first part, monos, which means alone, just like in the game Monopoly, where one person alone controls all of the power. And archine, to rule, so ruling alone. And this was the supreme ruler. This was the supreme ruler, either a king or queen. So the monarch. This was the supreme ruler, either a king or queen. And there's that nice, cute little couple ruling over their kingdom. Next, we have lords and ladies. Lords and ladies. Lords were granted estates by the monarch in return for loyalty and military support. Lords are granted estates by the monarch in return for loyalty and military support. They received the income from the crops grown on the land. They received the income from the crops grown on the land. And ladies Ladies were women of noble birth. Born to those who had a higher position in society. Ladies were women of noble birth. Next, we have knights. Knights. These were warriors who were trained and prepared to fight on horseback. These were warriors who were trained and prepared to fight on horseback. They often received land from the lords. And there's the knight in somewhat shiny armor. And moving down to the bottom, we have the serfs or peasants. They lived on the land and farmed it. They lived on the land and farmed it. They were not slaves, but could not leave the land without the Lord's permission. Could not leave the land without the Lord's permission. And there's the Lord lording over the serfs. I suppose that's where we have the word landlord that we use nowadays. If someone is renting from someone, the landlord. And another slide on serfs. Peasants or serfs made up 90%. 90% of the population. Peasants or serfs made up 90% of the population. Power and wealth was held by monarchs, lords, and the church. Power and wealth was held by monarchs, lords, and the church. Not divided up very well. And then we have the word chivalry. Chivalry. This was a code of behavior for knights. This was a code of behavior for knights. It said they had to have a deep faith, be ready to give their lives for the church, give generously, and stand against injustice. And stand against injustice. It said they had to have a deep faith, be ready to give their lives for the church, give generously, and stand against injustice. Then we had guilds. This is a group of people, such as merchants, or craftspeople, unified for a common interest. This is a group of people, such as merchants or craftspeople, unified for a common interest. Almost sounds like a labor union or a cooperative where groups of people nowadays would get together and purchase things in order to save money. Next, we have the manor system. The manor system. This was the system consisting of 4 parts. Consisting of 4 parts used to manage feudal lands. Used to manage feudal lands. This was the system consisting of 4 parts used to manage feudal lands. And it included the following. And there's a drawing there you can look at too. But it included number 1, the manor house or castle. And nearby, this usually included a church, serfs' cottages, a mill, gardens, orchards, and farm buildings. This usually included a church, serfs' cottages, a mill, gardens, orchards, and farm buildings. There's the village, all near the castle. Number 2, meadowland. This provided grazing area for working animals. This provided grazing area for working animals. And there we have the meadow with a source of water running through it. Then we had wasteland. This area provided wood, wildlife, nuts, berries, and pasture as well. This area provided wood, wildlife, nuts, berries, and pasture, the wasteland. And we have the farmland. The farmland. This land was rotated. This land was rotated. And what does that mean, rotated? Let's go to the 3-field rotation. In this cropping rotation, one field was planted with wheat and rye in the fall. Another was planted with oats and barley in the spring. And the third field was left fallow. The third field was left fallow to help with fertility. More oftentimes nowadays we fertilize soils, but it is still a practice letting a field fallow so that it helps with fertility. Okay, in this cropping rotation, one field was planted with wheat and rye in the fall, another was planted with oats and barley in the spring, and the third field was left fallow to help with fertility. And we have a couple extra pages here for notes if you want to add to that. But otherwise, that is it for Chapter 14, Lesson 3. Life in the Middle Ages, the Church, Feudalism, and Manor life formed the foundation of European medieval life.